Harnessing Your Wealth isn't your average money podcast, hosted by Billy Peterson, a former jockey turned financial advisor. It's about more than dollars and cents. Each episode dives into the stories, struggles, and successes that define what real wealth looks like. From bold entrepreneurs to everyday dreamers who've learned that true success isn't just earned, it's lived. Because life, like wealth, it's all about how you write it.
Hey, this is Billy, Harnessing Your Wealth. You know, this is the time of year when everyone gets to start new. We've turned the calendar. We're in a brand new year. Here we are looking at what's laid out ahead of us, the plans for what we can become. All of us have these New Year's goals, New Year's resolutions. We have this plan for what we're going to do for fitness and for our nutrition and for our financial situation. But many times the plan sounds great at the outset, and then the follow through is where we fall apart. I think this show today is going to open up a whole new world and why we fail so often, why we set out with great intentions, but we fall flat on our face. So I think you should listen to this show with a potentially a different perspective and try to understand why these failures occur so often and why just changing a few of the habits and changing a few of the processes and the way we look at ourselves and the way we look at the world can potentially change the outcome and flip this switch to create a whole new reality for ourselves. So today we have Becca Grabinski, who is excellent in helping people uncover a new path to the life they want to live. And I'm really happy to have her on the show today. So let's jump in.
Thank you, Billy. Super excited to be here. So I work with those that are specifically here. And I think like if we go back to childhood, it's the 1% of us, right? That we just felt like we looked around the world and we just didn't fit in. It didn't matter what we did. And we tried to put ourselves into groups and we didn't fit. And we've always kind of felt awkward, like we're on an island on our own. And this group of people specifically are here to really, truly hit our highest potential. And we came here with very unique gifts that don't fit with anybody else. And so I really struggled. Well, I've been here 42 years now, almost, finding the support of people that understand me. And so when I hit 30, the first 30 years of my life, I created that part of my life, I guess, through survival. I looked outside of me saying, well, what does society say that I need to be successful? So I built my career. I got my 4-year degree in finance. I went into the financial world, insurance specifically, got married, got the house in the suburbs, had the 2.5 kids. And I was sitting there and it was like, from the outside, everybody was like, oh, Becca made it. She's got it. But from the inside, I was empty. And so I kind of did this like, okay, I have 70 more years left because I'm sure I'll live till I'm 100. I'm a little stubborn. And so I can't live like this. I can't do this. I was looking around the world like, is this what everybody is doing? And so I did what I had to do. And I kind of did this like I was walking in the back, what's behind my house. And I was like, okay, God, like, I'm not going to leave this marriage. I know that this isn't aligned. I knew it wasn't aligned when I did it. I said, but if you let him leave, like if he leaves, I will let him, is really what I kind of walked through. And so our kids were 1, 3, and 5. And so then it just a couple weeks later, it just kind of unraveled and everything broke. It was like the tower moment in my life where everything crumbled. And I kind of sat with myself and I was like, okay, who is Becca? How does she like her eggs done? Right? Like, what does she want? Have you ever asked yourself, like, what do you want instead of what does the world want from you? And what I realized looking back were those 30 years, the first 30 years of my life, I was designing a life, not even necessarily what society said, but who do I need to be loved and accepted? And then everybody has a person. For me, it was by my dad. Mm. Did I need to be loved and accepted by my dad? So it was instead the love and acceptance that I needed to start giving to myself. So I remember looking in the mirror. So I had moved out. I was in my new house with the kids and I looked in the mirror and I said to myself, I put my hand on my heart and I said, Becca, I love you. And I'm telling you what, I did not feel that. I did not love anything about her. and I broke, right? And so that was the moment of the next 10 years of my life of really kind of rebuilding who is Becca and who does she get to be. And so authenticity, intuition really stepped foot. So I went to every single seminar that I could. I read every single book. I went to Bali, Costa Rica. I mean, I immersed myself in trying to find who is she really and why are we here?
Why are we here? What's the meaning of life almost, right? There's deep questions that we sometimes ask ourselves. You go through this mundane routine, wake up every day and you're in Groundhog Day and you don't know what the hell is going to happen the next day. You just keep struggling with it. But tell me about that. You were kind of getting into this whole, I was trying to please my dad. What created that? Was there something in your youth or your childhood that you just never feel like you measured up?
Yeah, so I had an older brother and sister that he had had in a previous marriage that I really looked up to. And so when I would observe him as a child, he would, he would talk about them like, oh, they did this and they did that. But his messaging towards me was not enough, do better, and every time that I would hit this new version of me, this new accomplishment, it was still never enough and never enough to the point where um, like even last year, like I had super exceeded everything that he had, set out for me. And he kept saying, well, I just want better for you. I just want better for you. And then it was kind of this like, I'm never going to hit it. I'm never going to achieve anything that he sets out for me. And really what I found, it was his inadequacies that he was projecting through me. So although fine, I just had to, wish him the best and send him love and kind of disconnect that, I don't know, I guess experience, because somebody cannot love and accept you if they don't love and accept themselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Everybody's
and
got their own problems that they bear, right? And people are the way they are because sometimes maybe bad things happen to them in their childhood and they've had to hold on to that. And so we don't always understand. Most times we don't, which is what creates so many great stories for people, and how many times people have to strip it all down and go back to their childhood or their youth. And that's where so many things go wrong and we don't even realize it.
And this is what I've noticed, because all of my clients, my requirement for VIP is that you must be an entrepreneur. You must have created some level of success, because what I want to see is that you've experienced failure and you've got back up and you kept going. Because to work with me, I'm going to put you in the uncomfortableness of your childhood. We're going to walk through different pieces to release them. So that way you have the freedom of your future to be able to create the way you want. But to do that, we need to create space, right? So I've learned what kind of person can walk through this specific process with me over VIP over the 6 months. And so what I noticed with everybody though is its success was built from, who do I need to be loved and accepted? And the answer was success. So success was never like, oh, I just desire to be great. It was, I'm afraid of rejection. And so the only way not to be rejected is to be successful. But then the problem is that then the success comes from the outside, and nobody ever taught us like, well, what do we do with what's inside of us? So now we have like, it's like wealthy people making money look bad, because then people are like, well, I don't want to be wealthy because they're not happy even when they had money. And it's like, that's not the problem. The money was never the problem. The problem is what it was created, the foundation. So we recreate the foundation of love and acceptance of self, right? Presence, staying in the body instead of in the mind, noticing when the ego is being activated, right? Our survival self, and then stepping out of that and stepping back.
How do you bring those, how do you put those in alignment? Because everybody, I don't say everybody, but most people believe that you have to work harder than everyone else in order to succeed. You have to outwork people. And I would say there's some truth in that, right? You have to be able to put in the effort. I mean, success doesn't come cheap. So how do you align those things when you talk about being able to take care of yourself and not just go into this overdrive, automatic pilot, you never get a rest and you never take time for yourself.
Well, I think everybody's different, right? We can look at the Elon Musks of the world. He's meant to hustle like that. Like that's just how he was created, right? So he's got something pulling him. Whereas if you are in a survival state, and he doesn't have to, that's the difference, right? The other difference is the survival self, where it's like, I have to, out of fear, hustle. Well, that's super high misalignment. And if you're hustling from survival self, guess what? Your success is going to take way longer. You're going to have to work way harder for it versus the version of you that trusts yourself, right? That's like, it's back, you're observing, you're breathing, right? That's important. Now let's look to see what are the things that I could do that feel really, really aligned, like a hell yes to my body. What are the things that I can do that are going to make sense? If I didn't know how the rest of the world did it, how would I do it? And
So
all of a
it's
sudden, working hard, but you're working in a harder state of alignment. You want to. It's not a push.
yeah, you're not operating out of fear, right? You're out, you're
Mhm.
trusting. So is that really kind of some of the fundamentals that you teach your clients? Is that there's a purpose and there's some sort of frequency that all of us can find if we're in that right state? Or
I
is there
think
something deeper going on?
so. I think the frequency really is undeniable. Undeniable is the version of you that trusts yourself, that even when the world is screaming at you to go left, but you're feeling the pull to go right, that undeniable, it's like a leaned back receiving energy, right? Where your heart is open. And I think that's the other thing, right? A lot of the things that I work with my client is heart issues, different things that happened in their life where they closed down to protect themselves. Well, guess what? You're messing up your ability to achieve success and achieve your highest potential. So the opening, but this undeniable energy is like you walk in and you're just, nothing bothers you because you're willing to, one, lose it all, right? We're not attached to anything. We can't take this with us, but you can't hit your highest potential gripping or attached. That's fear. And you just lean back and you start to trust yourself. And so my job is really to remind each of my clients who they really are. Like everybody has the undeniable switch in them. You just need to turn it on.
When
We're not creating something outside of us. We're just really aligning with the authentic self.
And that's what Dr. Joe talks about, is there's a frequency and it's already there. It's just tapping into that right one. The possibilities are already there. And it's just knowing how to connect to the frequency that you want. So, I mean, I find that interesting and fascinating, but yet so many people are asking, well, how do I do it? I mean, I want a playbook here. I want an instruction manual, and there's really not one.
So my second book, I wrote it out, right? It starts with the wound, how you got there, how you built your level of success, and then it builds up to undeniable. But what the only thing is it's the logical process. So people that want to logic it first, but if you only keep it in the mind as you walk through the process of getting there, guess what? It's not going to work because a frequency is in the body, not in the mind. And that's where it's like mindset is the decision, but then the decision needs to anchor into the body. We can't be undeniable here, but not feel it here. And you'll notice, like when I say here, how my body moves back, it's because we receive the undeniable. The moment that, so like a client will be like, oh, I'm working on this, whatever thing that they're going to land, okay, client, etc., project. And so when I notice if they're leaned forward, I'm like, you're pushing it away, right? Because anything that we move towards goes the opposite direction. And you need to be a better receiver. I have a client that's like, I want to double my business in 2026. I'm like, well, then you need to double your ability to receive. So when somebody gives you something, your only response is thank you. You don't give anything back. You don't push it away. Your ability to receive. So it's one thing to intellectualize it. It's another to actually allow yourself to feel it.
So you've obviously had a lot of experiences, personal, in this realm, let's call it, and it's kind of a new realm. I find. I mean, a lot of people are open to this. They're trying to understand it more, but very few people truly grasp it. And I'm interested to know when you started in down this path? And was it this moment in your life that said, there's more, and I want to explore it, I want to find it? So then you started studying and learning, and you mentioned that you've kind of, gone into the Tony Robbins and some others that helped you understand kind of this line of thinking, and that there's more to just the consciousness that we have. There's more to it. How did you go into this, and what made you so passionate about it?
Well, so as a child, I was hypervigilant. And so my dad was gone all the time. And so my mom was home and she was super stressed out. So I had the gift as a child. I guess I didn't know it. What I would do is I would take on her frustration, her anger, and I would take the energy on myself so that she was more bearable. I would transfer back and forth and I would move, not even noticing that I was doing it, but I was just kind of like navigating things around to be able to move it. So over the course of time, what I realized when I started getting into more of a spiritual practice after my divorce, and even prior to like the couple weeks before I got married, my intuition kept telling my body, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. And I was getting nauseous every time that I would eat something. So I knew that I had a specific connection intuitively that was really, really strong. So fast forward into getting into more like when I went to Bali, that was a really big kind of awakening for me, realizing like my intuition was actually really, really strong. And the more that I listened to it, the better it got. The more that I denied it, the more tower moments or, crumbling of different things in life that would happen. So, I mean, I guess to answer your question, I can feel people's energy in their body and in their energy field. I can feel people's thought processes. I can I can move people's energy. And the more that I've kind of played with it, the more that I've practiced it, the better I get, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all been personal experience,
And
different personalities, etc.
right. Was there somebody that kind of steered you in this direction, or how did this open up for you?
It was really my divorce.
Really?
When I knew, it was like the body knowing it was time to be done. And I remember actually I took my ring off and I set it next to me, and all of a sudden I got a text from my husband. He was like, something shifted. And I was like, yeah, it
It's
did.
amazing that the universal forces out there that most of us don't even understand, things that are going on in the world that we just kind of take it for granted. But my wife is also pretty heavy into this. She's a mind body coach, so she helps people who are dealing with chronic pain. And then here in the last year or two, she's also added another component to this, which is the cranial sacrology. I don't know how you pronounce all this, but she's a cranial sacralist. And so she kind of helps people with this energy, moving energy, feeling energy. She talks about that all the time. And so she says she can do this like you're saying, which it completely escapes me. I gotta be honest, I have no idea, what that feels like or how to sense that. But she has this kind of ability, and I'm sure you say the same thing, is to be able to recognize things before anyone else, be able to feel it, be able to know there's something going on with someone's energy. And she helps people kind of deal with that and move that around. But she always says that there's for every symptom, let's call it, that you may have in your body, there's an underlying emotion. And so it deals with whatever that part of your body, or so she'll say, well, I'll say, gosh, my right shoulder's sure hurting today, or my left knee has been really bugging me at the gym. And she'll immediately tell me, well, that has to do with family, or that has to do with financial issues. And so really, how do you, there's always an answer. But when I apply that and I sit and think about it for a minute, I always come up with what's been bugging me, so most times subconsciously, but it's just there and I haven't processed it or dealt with it. And then after I do, guess what? That pain that I thought was really, really bad is gone.
Yeah.
It's quite amazing to me that this line of work needs to be opened up and explored. And I think more of our trained medical doctors need to understand this stuff, which they get no training, by the way, in medical school.
Right.
And so you're dealing with this kind of thing all the time. I'm sure when you're dealing with clients who struggling, whatever, emotionally or just mentally, just roadblock, can't get past something, trying to figure out how to accomplish something. But you're helping them examine it from a different perspective, right? Can you walk us through, and maybe, here you start with somebody that, kind of examples of what you're dealing with, and maybe a day-to-day client.
Yeah, so client gets on the phone and it's either phone or Zoom, depending on their preference. And so I let them just like, my first question is, how are things going? And I just let them start to talk. And I'm not necessarily listening to their words. I'm listening to their energy. I'm feeling into their body, what's moving, not what's not moving. And so the notes that I'm taking down is like, okay, throat chakra feels like there's some tenderness there. Heart feels like it's not going very well. And then also solar plexus, which is your power center. So they get done talking. And so a couple of things when I just let them vent whatever it is that they need to say or let out of what's going on. We meet every single week. What happens is I'll be like, okay, what's going on with your throat? Where are you feeling like you haven't said what you need to say? And that's where they stop and they think, and they're like, oh, this happened at home or this happened with a client. And I'm like, okay, so we're processing it. Solution, done. Throat opens. Okay, heart, what's heavy on your heart? Okay. Mom just went into the hospital. Okay, let's process that. Let's open it back up because protection is not going to be helpful. So what I'm doing is I'm opening their energy field, right? This is where highest potential comes from, is this flow energy that we need to stay in. And I'm like, okay, what made you really powerless this week? Boom. They don't know it consciously, but the moment that I ask it, they're like, this. And then we walk through it and I give them a different perspective and it's done. So my goal is, I'm New York style. I don't like things to take time. I'm not into the therapy model. I don't want to talk about it unless I know that like we haven't said what we need to say. Say it to me. You want to get mad? Let's talk it out. You're angry about something happened, or I need you to write to release, rip it up and keep moving. Other than that, by the time they get off the phone, fully in balance, fully clear, ready to move into their next level. And we just do that every single week on repeat.
With people who are just really novices at this, what are some of the preconceptions that are maybe false, and things that you've even seen in your industry that are blatantly incorrect, but you'd like to change people's perception?
That any focus on the external world or changing anything outside of you is the slowest process. And the fastest way to change is to change internally. So, okay, this is the way that my business is growing, for example, and I'm not happy with it. I just actually had this conversation about the real estate industry. Oh, well, the next 2 years don't look very good. And I'm like, okay, says who? According to what? According to the average real estate agent? Well, you're not it. What gets to be true for you, right, is that internally we change the story to, I can have any kind of year that I want. What kind of year do I want? What do I want to create? Let's move into the identity of the version of you that's successful. And then what happens is we act from that frequency, that identity, that energy moves into the external. So I have clients that come to me that know nothing about energy. I don't talk to them about energy. I don't talk about energy centers. I talk to them in layman's terms and I just remind them and I change the belief system when they bring something to me. Well, this, and I'm like, well, what about this? And they're like, oh, I like that. That feels good. Next. Okay, what about this? We move into, I just tweak the way that they see the world. And then what happens is I ask them, most of my clients are men, which they love this question. How does this feel? That's how I move them from here into the body. Okay, how does that feel in the body? What does that feel like? Boom, instantly embodied. So I have like, I guess, tricks of the trade, regardless of where you're at in the knowledge of what this is. You don't need to know anything. I can kind of move you anywhere I want to based upon where you want to go.
That can be good. That can be really good. A lot of people need that. We all do, I think, get stuck from time to time and not knowing who to reach out to, who to listen to. Sometimes it's just terrible advice or inner circle, right? And sometimes we get stuck in this whole, like I said before, victim mentality where we're hanging around with all the wrong people who just poor me, and all you do is feed that negative loop. You said something earlier I want you to touch on and tell me where this is wrong, but just the power of positive thinking. Tell me, is that a myth? Is it something that's just superficial?
So that's where we start, right? We have to start in the mind of changing. I mean, every single situation. What somebody said to me once, they said a cat could get run over and you could find a positive reason of why it happened. And I was like, it's true, because every situation has a negative story and a positive story. So what story do we want to tell? So for example, my divorce is a catalyst for an extraordinary life. Why does society say divorce is so bad? You literally have a blank slate to create anything you want. You're in charge. You get to create something new. Now, what do you want to do? Right. Or like my third child had a twin. So I had one and I lost one. And my youngest is so sweet. She's like, Mom, I probably wouldn't have came to earth without her bringing me. You know, like she delivered me and then she went back and then I stayed. She's like, maybe I just didn't want to go by myself.
Right.
Much better story than what society would say, right? And so victim mentality is all that's saying to me when somebody's there is this individual is in a state of survival. And they can't see it because in an unconscious state, they're just trying to survive. They're in the storm and they can't see it, right? So when you say like, well, people don't know where to go, there's all this information out there. You've really got to go with your intuition and what resonates. When you hear something and your body rejects it, it's not for you. Lots of people will be like, hey, read this book, try this. I am like very protective on what I let in. I don't really read anything. Most of my wisdom and knowledge comes from, does this feel right? From a state of the version of me that's thriving.
How do you get to that point, Becca, where you know and you trust what feels right? Because some of us are still trying to figure that out.
Mm-hmm. So we've got two voices in our head, right? One is intuition, one is our wise self, and one is our ego. So when something is coming through and you're deciding, is this wisdom or not? You need to ask yourself, is this from fear or is this from faith? And if it's from faith, you know it's the right voice. Or the other option is you can write, okay, what does my ego say about this? Right? What does my intuition say about this? And just let your pen go. And what that does is it shuts down almost like this film that you have like in between you and your wisdom when you can write. Writing is really powerful. And you start to see like, here's the things that are going on. But what it is really practicing connecting with yourself, practicing listening, being alone, right? Filling your own cup, working on you.
And so it's the ego is where you're doing it for selfish reasons, where you're doing it for whatever, the glory or the respect or something that's not necessarily the best. Is that what we need to differentiate?
Well, ego is anything based upon fear. Fear of loss, fear of failure, fear of being rejected, right? Anything, the ego is anything fear-based. So when you think of like, right, they say like the ego is like this pompous energy, which is also, so it could also be like the fake self that you put over yourself to show the world a version of you that you want them to see. That's fear, not being your authentic self. But the other ego is like fear of making the jump into something that you're feeling called to because you're afraid you're going to fail or you don't know how to do it or it may not work, right? That's also ego. So anything fear related.
How much fear is good when you're trying to, when you're trying to accomplish something and it's in the unknown and you want to be confident, but you're also feeling a little bit nervous about it. Is there any fear that's good?
So the ego always gets to have a say in what we do. So fear can be there, but we just don't necessarily want to choose the path of fear, right? What would fear do? Well, let's not do that. Let's go the other direction. But what I like to do is the integration of the ego. So the ego was originally created when we were being chased by tigers and bears, okay? Now it's like we get an email and the ego's activated trying to protect ourselves from the words on the email, right?
Yeah.
It's Crazy
Right.
how activated the ego is. And so instead, the integration of ego is like this piece of us needs to get us to our meetings on time, okay? Keep us organized, getting our to-do list done. That's where ego is meant to be. The organization, the logic, but it's not meant to like keep us safe over here. Right? It's not meant to protect us from the text message that comes in that feels triggering.
Yeah. That's starting to really make sense.
Mm-hmm.
And you work with only a select type of client, and so you've really kind of narrowed, I would say, narrowed your target market. You're not looking for just everybody. Was that a tough decision?
Well, when I was working with everybody, I was really frustrated because some of the people didn't want it. They didn't want to do the work. It was really difficult for them to go in and to not choose ego, right? To choose intuition and faith. And so what I learned is I needed more people like me, people that were forged in the fire, that were willing to like, and that's where Tony Robbins was amazing. When I walked on fire and my feet didn't burn, right? He taught me how to change my energetic state. That was such an amazing experience to see how I could change my energy, right? And not burn my feet. But so people that they can be forged in the fire, they can walk through hard things. They've been through divorce, they've been through hardship, and they just continue to go, even if they didn't know where they were going. Those are my people because when I take them into the depths, I know that they not only can handle it, they're going to thrive on the other side. And that's where when I say in 6 months, I can move you into a state of your highest potential. And I can guarantee that because of the people that I bring in, I know they already have the resume and the background and the experience that they can handle where I'm taking them to at the same time. And so there's other people out there, right, that are not ready for that. And I can respect that. I do have it's a quantum clarity session where they do one session with me and we just reset their foundation. And then from there, they can take that wherever they want to. But now they have clarity of like clearing some past stuff, clearing belief systems, clearing stories that they're telling. So now they've got this foundation that they can build on. And I give them the next steps. And so they can take it from there. So they don't have to go through the VIP. Anybody has access to me if they want it.
I see. And how many clients do you work with on a weekly basis?
10 to 12.
Yeah. Try to keep it to where you can handle it and do the job, because you have to be probably available to these people quite
They have
frequently.
access to me 24/7.
Mm-hmm.
So as things are happening, different things, stressors are happening, they can just shoot me a text and I'm available for them to walk them through it in the moment, which is really powerful.
Mm-hmm. There's been a lot of books written, over the years, and even for hundreds of years, clear back from the early days of Socrates and all of the ancient philosophers that we still read their work to this day. Why is this so hard? And why isn't there like a universal script? Obviously, the mind is something that we still don't understand, maybe may never understand. So people have written about the law of attraction and the power of positive thinking and how to manifest what you want, and it's about belief. Tell us what your thoughts are and how this is maybe just different than what we've been told and what we've believed all of our lives.
Well, I think there's a lot of information out there, but ego is complicated and soul is simple. So anything that we can find that is complicated is probably not the path. But anything that is simple is. So the universal script is your intuition. If you literally can just trust yourself and be with that version of you where you can just ask, okay, what is my next right step that feels aligned? Even though we don't have the big picture, and you start to take that, what you're going to find is you end on this, I'm just going to call it like the yellow brick path to your greatest life. But it's the version of you that trusts yourself that can take that leap, but you're going to have to forget everything that society taught you in the process.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where, like, when I say you have to be willing to lose it all to live your best life, because anything that you attach to is fear.
Mm-hmm. That's coming from some deep spiritual stuff too. Jesus said this very much:
Mhm.
be willing to lose it all in order to have it all. So, um, we can learn a lot from that. I think sometimes we get too attached to the material and too attached to the recognition, and
Mhm.
we lose sight of the true happiness part. That really what drives us, what motivates us, what fulfills us.
Mhm.
How do you square that up with your clients to stop looking for something externally?
Well, you can have anything you want externally, but my question is, why do you want it? And so I have an individual, right? One of the things that we're working towards is creating the $1 billion version of him. And we had that conversation today. And so I said to him, I said, it's not about the money. It's not about the pieces of paper with dead people's pictures on it. I said, it's who you become in achieving this version of you, right? Who do you become in creating that level of wealth? And the reason is because we're here to grow and we're here to expand and we're here to evolve. That's it. So fulfillment and happiness doesn't come from getting stuff and hanging on to it. It comes from getting stuff, seeing who you become in the process, letting go of it, letting this new come in over and over and over again. And then who do you become in the process?
Hmm.
And changing your mind and as you evolve. And so what I could tell my clients is every single time they hit a new level, I say new level, new devil, right? The ego gets smarter every time you up level. So when you hit the new level, it's all of a sudden everything feels kind of crazy and your stress level is really high. Why is that? Well, it's because the ego got smarter.
Hmm.
And so now we have to sit with, well, what is the fear now? You've never been here before. There's
Hmm.
no such thing as the unknown because you're creating it. What do you want to create?
And do you
The
have to
only
go back to the childhood of where all these personality traits came from? So, for example, the fear of failure, something that
Mhm.
I've had my entire life, or fear of rejection because of things that I had to experience when I was young. Um, how do you deal with those things when clients are holding on to those for basically their whole life, and
Mhm.
to throw those away and start focusing on um, letting that go?
Well, I usually ask, it's funny because those of us that have the fear of failure have really never let ourselves fail ever. Or if we have lost it all or had a tower moment, right? It's almost like the millionaire that goes bankrupt and then becomes a billionaire 2 years later. There was no failure. It was it was part of our life had to be cleared for us to let in what we were asking for. So is there a fear of failure? No, because we're not that kind of people that would ever allow failure. The people in this world that allow failure, it's because that's part of their standard. It's not our standard. Okay. Fear of rejection. The only way anybody outside of us is going to reject us is because we're rejecting us. When we start to accept us, everybody accepts us. And that's where the answer is everything is inside,
Mm.
right? So when something outside of us is negative, it's like my question is, well, how did I create that? What's going on inside of me that's creating this, right? So if it's like you're at the grocery store and the individual checking you out, right? It's just like having a stupid moment and you're like everything, and then somebody cuts you off and something happens. It's like, well, where did I start this?
Yeah.
What happened? What did I think that created this energetic chain of events?
And on the alternative side of that, sometimes things just magically click, right? You pull in there, there's the front row parking spot. You walk in and everything's right there in your lap. You find exactly what you need. And that's just shopping. But, sometimes you just feel like you can't lose no matter what. Every decision you make just feels like it's perfect.
Yeah.
Where does that
Yeah.
come from?
Well, it's sitting in the state of flow. It's when you're in presence. Because if you think about this, the future is an illusion, hasn't happened. The past is an illusion because it's perception. What we think happened in our past and what actually happened, probably totally different, right? It's based upon our past experiences and our current level of understanding and awareness. So if the past isn't real and the future isn't real, the only moment that actually is real is the one that we're sitting in right now. That's pretty powerful.
It is. And it is. And that's one of the hardest things to remember and to stay focused on right now. We all gravitate to that. What should we have done differently there? And what's going to happen tomorrow?
Yeah. Or
You know?
instead, it's, well, how did I create that?
Mm.
Right? How did I create that? it's this in my eyes, right? In the way that I coach and mentor is I take personal responsibility. Everything that happens is my fault. And that's where we can't become a victim because nothing happens to us. Well, how did I create that? And
Mm.
when you start to search for it, you'll realize that you'll find it.
Mm. It's an interesting concept, and it's hard, and it's been hard for me my whole life because I'm always trying to achieve. I'm always trying to climb higher and higher and set the bar and do those things. And I find that I ask myself, what is it that I'm doing this for? Why? And because I dealt with a lot of pain and setbacks because of it. I just never would let myself realize that I just accomplished something amazing and I'm already off to the next. It was never a moment of good job. It was just now what I need to do, because I'm looking at the outside world and how it sees me and what I need to be to make everyone else like me or be proud of me or recognize me. So I don't recognize myself. I don't give myself any of that grace. So those are things that I struggle with. I try hard to learn from and do better, to let go of those things that I'm trying to obtain and just be here and be good with that. Those are tough.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
So here's something really cool. So think about something that you want in the future that you want to achieve. Okay.
mm-hmm.
And then I want you to go into who is his identity? Who is the guy that achieves that? Find his identity. Okay. Can you find him?
Yep.
And now bring him back to this present moment and be him now as if you've already achieved it.
Yeah.
And notice how calm the body feels.
Yeah.
Now, if you move towards that vision, that goal as the identity, as if you already have it, it comes way faster. So now you're not working hard for it. Your practice is just embodying him and acting as him in his body now. And what you'll notice is you're going to have a lot more fun with it.
Mm-hmm.
Because now you're practicing a new version of you versus the linear path of like, I'm standing here and I want to become him that has this said, outcome. Well, that's really frustrating and stressful. You don't know when it's going to happen. You don't know how it's going to happen. So what I did is I took you from survival creation to thriving creation.
And you don't have to have everything nailed down to a T for that to happen, right? You don't have to have all the specifics ironed out.
No.
You just more or less visualize that person, bring them back to the present, not get so carried away with every little detail, but also don't live it as if it's fake. You're not somebody that's looking at that as something that's not real. You're looking at something that's possible.
Right, because you're just feeling into it, right? And then you're acting as far as like the things that you do and the processes you do as that version of you. So for example, I like to use this being the best in the world version of you. Okay. So think of the version of you that is the best in the world. How does he show up? What does he do? How does he work with his clients? What does he show the world? Right. I was even looking at your website, is mind blowing, by the way. Beautiful. It is
Thank you.
absolutely beautiful. The energy of it, the pictures, stunning. But the best in the world version of you, right, shows up differently.
Mm-hmm.
When he gets out of bed, he's like, oh my God, this is who I am. He's excited about life, right? So that's what I mean by identity.
Mm-hmm.
Shifting into that. So it's not necessarily what we're showing other people, it's what we're being and feeling and acting as if.
Mm-hmm.
So not mind, but body, right? Keep it in the body.
Okay. That's the key. I think that's the big takeaway from me, is the feeling of it, not necessarily the intellectual part, the feeling of what it provides and how you live with that and how you deal with that. It's just accepting it. So I love what you've said there. It's so powerful, all these things. I'm going to have to listen to this 3 or 4 times myself just to continue to open up my eyes to this world. But Becca, how do people get a hold of you listening to this podcast? How would they reach out and find you?
Great question. So my website is beccagrabinski.com.
And then you have, I'm sure, all the social media presence as well.
I'm everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yeah, find me By my name, you can find me everywhere.
Your books are on Amazon. Find all your books there.
Yeah.
Well, it's fantastic. I really appreciate you being on the show today. I hope you listening out there enjoyed this show. I know this kind of goes into some areas that some people are uncomfortable going. But to be honest, if you're going to find the maximum potential for yourself, this is a phenomenal approach to it. And I think this is the kind of the separate the average folk from the ones who really achieve what they're wanting in life. And we're all about achieve wealth and success here in this show. And we talked to a lot of people about what it takes and the spirit, the energy, the dedication. And here it is, and talking plain talk about accepting yourself and accepting what you want, and then bringing that right back to reality here so you can achieve it. Letting go so you can find what you want and fill that cup. Becca, thank you once again for being on the show.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
Everybody stay tuned. You're going to see some show notes here. Take a look at that. Find out how to get a hold of Becca and order any of her books. You can follow her on her social media pages as well. And until next time, take care out there, everybody.
Thank you for listening. For more information about today's show, please check out the show notes. Visit our website at www.petersonws.com or give us a call at 801-475-4002. Peterson Wealth Services is a registered investment advisor. This is a paid-for advertisement. Information presented on this program is believed to be factual and up-to-date, but we do not guarantee its accuracy, and it should not be regarded as a complete analysis of the subjects discussed. Discussions and answers to questions do not involve the rendering of a personalized investment advice, but are limited to the dissemination of general information. A professional advisor should be consulted before implementing any of the options presented. Peterson Wealth Services.